evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Wilson School Board for Monday, October 7th, 2019. Can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Case? Here. Mr. Ehrlich?
Here.
Mr. Hart?
Here.
Mr. Hopp?
Here.
Dr. Kennedy?
Here.
Mrs. Cocker?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Negrini? Mr. Wolf?
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Would you all please rise for the pledge?
Public to address the board. The first is on agenda items, which is immediately before the agenda. Second is on non-agenda items, which is at the end of the meeting, pursuant to the board policy and the Sunshine Law. It is a 3-minute opportunity to provide the board with matters that are or may come before it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to communications, we have here tonight Dr. Weber, our new high school principal, to make a presentation with some National Merit Scholarship students that are here. Dr. Weber.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be before you this evening presenting Wilson students that have met national criteria for PSAT tests that took place during their junior year. For a little background, of the 1.6 million entrants, some 50,000 with the highest selection index scores qualify for this program. In September, these high scores were notified by us that they had qualified as either a commended student or a semifinalist. Within those 50,000 students, about 2/3, or 34,000, received letters of commendation in recognition of their outstanding academic promise. Commended students are named on the base of nationally applied selection index score. While they do not continue in the National Merit Scholarship process, some of these students do become candidates for special scholarships through corporations and businesses. They have scored in the top 2.1% of all students that participated in this. So this year we have 3 recipients. So when I call their name, if they would please stand. Ashley Filer, Edith Gopal, and Olivia Shi. Very nice. Stay standing. In addition to our commended students, about 16,000 students, or approximately 1/3 of the 50,000 highest scores, qualify as semifinalists. Semifinalists are the highest scoring entrants in each state. Qualifying scores vary from state to state and from year to year, but the scores of all semifinalists are extremely high. The National Merit Scholarship provides this application materials to the semifinalists through their high schools. The semifinalists must advance to the finalist standing in the competition by meeting high academic standards as well as other requirements. This is a very impressive accomplishment, as semifinalists represent the top 1% of all participants. In February of next year, approximately 15,000 semifinalists will be notified if they are moving on to the finalist stage. Finalists then have the opportunity to earn from a variety of scholarships to further their education. This year we have 1, Krishna Nayak. Please stand. Well done. If you guys want to go around.
Congratulations to you all again, and thank you for representing our student body so well. Typically, I, at this point, give you the opportunity to go home and get some homework done, but you guys were probably finished at like 3 o'clock today with your work. But if you'd like to leave at this point, you're welcome to with your families, or you're welcome to stay and hear the rest of the exciting meeting. Yeah. Just an announcement that the board did meet in executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss a personnel issue and a real estate issue. Moving on to approval of the minutes, looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held September 16th, 2019 as attached. Mr. Martin, thank you. Second, Mr. Ehrlich. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Payment of bills, Mr. Martin.
Mr. President, I submit for approval tonight bills in the amount of $2,376,385.94.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Ehrlich, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Superintendent's report, Dr. Fadley.
Thank you, President Wolf. It's my privilege to present the personnel and program recommendations this evening as listed.
Thank you. So looking for a motion for 4.1 through 4.8. Mr. Hart, thank you. Mrs. Cocker, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mr. Hart, Mr. Hoff,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Moving on to 5.1, looking for a motion to request permission to approve a trip to St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica for 23 high school AP Environmental and AP Bio students from January 11th through January 20th, 2020, which would be 4 days out of school. Approximate cost to the students is $2,275. Cost to the district is one substitute teacher for 4 days. Students will be chaperoned by Mr. Doms and Ms. Houts, and one other chaperone to be announced. 5.2 is similar, it's just a second trip, same trip to St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica for 23 high school AP Environmental AP Bio students from January 25th through February 2nd, 2020. 5 days out of school, cost to the students $2,200, cost to the district 2 substitute teachers for 5 days. Chaperones, again, would be Mr. Doms, Ms. Houts, and one chaperone to be determined. 5.3, permission to approve a trip to Chincoteague Bay Research Facility in Wallops Island, Virginia for 22 AP Biology Environmental Science students from the high school from April 3rd through 7th, 2020. 3 days out of school. Cost of students is $500. Cost of the district, one substitute teacher for 3 days. Chaperones would be Mr. Doms, Mr. Sear, Ms. Brock, and Mr. Yoder. 5.4, permission to approve a trip to Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Annapolis for 60 concert choir, orchestra, band, chorus, orchestra students from April 8th through 10th, 2020, 1 day out of school. Cost to students is $590. Cost to the district is 4 substitute teachers for 1 day. Students will be chaperoned by Ms. Fredericks, Ms. Kuhn, and 2 additional chaperones to be determined. 5.5, request permission to approve a trip to Taiwan, Beijing. I even looked this up, see if I can get it. Shijian Wang, I think it is. I listened to it on the internet today. China for 12 grades 8 through 12 students, Chinese students from March 26 through April 12th, 2020. 10 days out of school, cost of students is $3,300. Cost of the district, one substitute teacher for 10 days. Students will be chaperoned by Ms. Lee. 5.6, permission to approve a trip to New York City for 40 students from World Languages on December 5th, 2019, 1 day out of school. We'll go to the Metropolitan Museum, Broadway Theater, 3 cultural restaurants. Cost of students is $100. Cost of the district, 4 substitute teachers for 1 day. Chaperones will be Ms. Pearsall, Ms. Orchowski, Mr. Marquez, and 1 chaperone to be determined. 5.7, permission to approve a trip to New York City for 40 JROTC students on September 29th, 2019. No days missed from school. They'll be doing the Troops for Towers Foundation 5K Memorial Race. Cost to students is $0. Cost to the district is a school bus. Chaperoned by Captain Walter and First Sergeant Dolan. And 5.8, permission to approve a trip to Australia and New Zealand for 24 technology education students from December 19th, 2020 through January 2nd, 2021, 3 days out of school. Cost to students would be $5,995 plus transportation. Cost to the district is 3 substitute teachers for 3 days. Students will be chaperoned by Mr. Dunkelberger, Ms. Rodenbush, and Mr. Dennis if needed. The 3 days out of school is an estimate. The exact number of days will be determined by the 2021 school calendar. So looking for a motion for 5.1 through 5.8. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Mr. Case, second. Any discussion?
Carol made a grave mistake. By additional chaperone, she meant Amy Kennedy.
Well, there is to
But
be,
in-
there is to be determined.
In all seriousness, how lucky are our students to be able to have this opportunity to go to so many different places? I certainly didn't have that opportunity in high school, and I think it's really exciting and something our district should be super proud of.
I agree. When I saw the Wallops Island one, I remember it fondly, being knee-deep in the muck in Chincoteague with Mr. Doms and Mr. Ringler at the time. It was a great trip. I remember it to this day.
Yeah. That Australia, New Zealand, holy moly.
Look back fondly with bird watching days with Mr.
Yep.
Sear,
Yep,
who I see as a chaperone on this trip.
yep. All right, any other discussion? Voice vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to HR, 6.1, request approval to authorize the appointment of Dr. Andrew Hoffert to Director of Student Supports and Services at $130,000 per year, start date effective to be determined. 6.2, motion to approve to appoint Mr. Brad Hahn, Director of Human Resources, as the district representative to the Berks County School District Health Trust effective October 28th, 2019. 6.3, request to approve the correction of the Supervisor of Curriculum 6 through 12 position, which was approved on September 16th, 2019 agenda, to a 10-month position through June 30th, 2020, and to a 12-month position effective July 1st, 2020. 6.4, request permission to approve the updated reorganization of the district office leadership positions for the 2019-2020 school year. And 6.5, motion to approve the teacher leader stipends for the 2019-2020 school year as attached. So I'm looking for a motion for 6.1 through 6.5. Mr. Hart, thank you. Mr. Ehrlich, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Mr. Hop?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes,
It's 8-4, 0 against.
thank you. And we do have Dr. Hoffert here. If you'd like to stand and just be recognized, congratulations and welcome to the district. Okay, moving along to Student Services, 7.1. Request permission to contract with Conrad Weiser Decision School for 3 special education students for the 2019-2020 school year at a cost of $213.07 per day, beginning August 26, 19, and ending June 4th, 2020, pending solicitor review and approval. 6.2, request permission to approve the agreement between the Wilson School District and the Wyomissing School District to educate 3 special education students with multiple disabilities support services at a rate of $52,000 per student that Wyomissing will be billed on a quarterly basis. And 7.3, request permission to approve the adoption of an agreement and release valuing $25,000 for the benefit of a student in order to settle and comprise all claims raised by the parents of a special education student, and to authorize the board president and secretary to execute the agreement on behalf of the district. Looking for a motion for 7.1 through 7.3. Mr. Ehrlich, thank you. Second, Mr. Hart. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hop? Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8 for, 0 against.
Thank you. 8.1, motion to authorize the chief financial officer to sign an electricity supplier contract as presented. 8.2, motion to grant permission to create a Medical Leaders of Tomorrow Club student activity account in the high school student activities fund. So looking for a motion for 8.1 through 8.2. Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Second. Mr. Ehrlich, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hop?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Under Transportation, looking for a motion to approve the purchase of 3 add-on programs to the TransFinder routing software suite as presented. Do I have a motion for 9.1? Mr. Ehrlich, thank you. Mr. Martin, second, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hop?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8 for, 0 against.
Under 10.1, thanks to the good work of our committee that's been working on our policies, we now have several policies that are already covered under other sections. So we'll be looking for a motion to repeal the following policies that are covered under a corresponding title policy under the 300 section that's been updated and approved during 2018-2019, and therefore the repeal, they'll be repealed and retired. So it would be motion to accept and repeal the policies 401 and 501, 404.1, 503.1, 509, 413.2, and 513.2, 414, 514, 4141, and 514.1, 415 and 515, 417 and 517, 419 and 519, 423 and 523, 424, 524, and 525 and 525, as presented. Do I have a motion for 10.1? Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Mr. Hop, second. Any discussion?
I'll just reiterate what you said, Mr. Wolf, that the policies that appear here are not just, we're not just deleting them and saying that the people in those categories don't have to follow them anymore. We're condensing everything, and instead of having 300, 400, and 500 policies, they're all living under 300 to kind of streamline our policies, which are a lot of fun to read through. Anybody want to join us at our ad hoc meetings there, where we would appreciate the help.
Thank you very much again for your work on that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hop?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Moving along to committee reports. Mr. Case, do you want to do BCTC and the Ed Foundation?
Can I do Ed Foundation after Ms. Troutman?
Sure, absolutely.
Great. We'll get back into the whole positive order. Works better for me. Anyway, we had a really good meeting for BCTC. It started out with a fantastic dinner that the students make every month that we have our meeting. And I had the most fantastic butternut squash I've ever had in my entire life, better than any fine restaurant I've ever been to. Not that I go to those often, but absolutely fantastic. It was almost like a dessert. So I just, and rumor has it we may be thinking about having a meeting, our board meeting at one of the BCTCs.
Yeah, I think that's in the works.
And have dinner there, which will be phenomenal. Anyway, we started off basically with the BCTC. I know there's a larger audience, so I'll go into a little bit more detail. But we started off, as every BCTC meeting, with a tour of some of the new things that are going on at the BCTC. And this time we had a tour of the newly renovated health occupational labs. So they renovated them. There's 4 working labs, theory rooms, that are really great, and it's a great collaborative environment. They put a lot of work into it. And the nice thing about the program, the students all come, a bunch of them come during these BCTC meetings, and they speak from their heart and talk about the program themselves. And, and basically when you go through that program, you get a certified nursing assistant certificate at the end of it. And a lot of them still continue to go on in the medical field, some of them. They also partner with Berksheim, where the students can intern and engage with patients. So it's a great program. So that's the thing, one of the things we started out with. Some of the highlights from the meeting, we learned about the future BCTC partnership with Penn College Now, which is a great program for earning college credits when you're going to BCTC. So some of the great things, it's a great way to save money, save time, build confidence as a student, prep for college, and increase a student's odds of success. The credits are, they're actually good for 10 years after you graduate, and they are transferable some of the time depending on the curriculum, which a lot of programs, typically if you're not partnered with some of these better programs, you don't do that. But the BCTC teachers are the actual ones that get certified and teach these classes. So these programs will be available next fall. So look for them, and they're picking classes and stuff. There's a list, and there's a bunch of good classes that are available there. We had a tour of the new welding building that's going to be hosted at West, and it's under construction right now. I believe we're trying to get in there at the end of, I think, the spring, if I remember correctly. But that's coming along really well. The walls are up, and concrete walls are up, and they're building. So it's going to double the amount of students that they can put through the welding program, which is, very important. I mean, they turn students away from the welding program today. And Berks County needs welders. There's a lot of companies that need them. And let's see. And one of the other things that kind of came up roundabout discussions within Wilson, basically delaying going into the BCTC until you're a late junior or maybe a senior. And some of the things, and right, wrong, or indifferent, we have to have some hard discussions about this. BCTC gets measured, some of their metrics are starting and finishing a program. So if we do delay students to when they're a senior and they choose this, a lot of that burden, if we continue to go with the philosophy of starting and finishing a program, that burden is on Wilson then to actually have some of those BCTC classes in-house here. Or else we can just do what's right for the students and have that conversation of, is it really important to actually start and finish depending on what we want to do. So Dr. Kraft we've talked about it a little bit. I mean, I know some of the superintendents feel the same way, and we could have that larger conversation at some time in the future. But I know Chris Trickett was asking about that too. So that is it for BCTC. The next meeting is October 23rd at the East Campus.
Okay. So we're going to skip down to the IU. Dr. Kennedy?
The IU, we had an IU meeting 3 weeks ago. We heard about their start of the year, their state of their unit. What happens is everyone in the BCIU goes to, actually they go to Muhlenberg High School in their auditorium, and they get to see a speaker, and everyone that works in the IU, and it is a huge, huge place, sits in one room one day a year. And they had a really great speaker, Mr. Adam Blank, who has autism, and he was supposed to be nonverbal. And he grew up and is now a featured speaker all around the country. So hearing his story was really inspirational. I saw just a clip, and it was really neat. And we heard great feedback from the people who saw him in person. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up from the IU, they did a similar thing last year, and it was really important. This is the second year of the Keeping Kids Safe Symposium, and it is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019, from 8 a.m. to 12 noon at Penn State Berks. And it looks to be it's open to the public. It looks to be another really great program. And the BCIU is doing a lot of really fantastic things with all of the Berks County schools, trying to keep them safe. And they won a huge grant, and I think they're spending the money really wisely. And I look forward to see how that's going to work.
Great. Thank
Curriculum?
you. Yep. If you want to do
Okay.
curriculum right away.
We had a curriculum committee meeting the same day as the Berks IU meeting. It was a different curriculum format, which I think we all really liked. The problem was, usually the curriculum committee was used to be more presentational, and this one was more collaborative, except I got so collaborative, I forgot to write things down. So we pieced together what we were talking about. We had a math program update. We had a phonics update in K-2, which is so greatly needed. So now our kids will be able to spell. And the biggest, most important, most exciting news that we had was that we are going to, as a district, retake a look at our program of studies, look for what we're doing well, and then we're going to look at the program of studies through the eyes of the whole child. And it's really a philosophical switch, which I am so looking forward to. So exciting things, busy things, but exciting things happening at the curriculum committee. That's it.
Thank you. Berks EIT, Mr. Schlossman.
Good evening. The Berks EIT's last quarterly meeting was held on Thursday, September 26th. One item to note was that Rebecca Klauser was approved as the new Berks EIT Executive Director for a 3-year contract. She is a CPA, former principal at Reinsel Kunz Lesher, and she was most recently the CFO at Boyertown Area School District. We also approved the technology and related service agreement with Sandy Feet Software, LLC, for the development of the new computer system for collecting, processing, and audit distribution of local earned income taxes and other taxes. Phase 1 is supposed to be completed by November 30th. This was a system that Lancaster Bureau does use. Local EIT system is due to be delivered October 31st of 2020, and the system for the other taxes is due by September of 2022. The former software development agreement, which was unsuccessful, is now in litigation, unfortunately. The financial results are very strong. They're in a calendar year to date. They're a calendar year, so year to date August 2019 versus the prior year shows an increase in earned income tax distribution to schools and municipalities by $2.2 million, or a 5.5% increase, and an increase of $0.5 million in other Act 511 taxes, and that's a 10% increase. So that's good news for all the schools and municipalities. And our next quarterly meeting is scheduled for December 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Just an update under extracurricular to our fall sports. Currently, our boys cross-country team is at 10-2. Our girls cross-country is 11-1. Field hockey still remains unbeaten at 16-0, and I mentioned it before, if you've not seen these girls play, it's a real treat. I think we have, I believe, 7 Division I commitments on this team, so it's really like watching a college-level game, so try to get out and see them if you can. All of our athletics obviously are fun, but these girls are really, really a lot of fun to watch. Football team is 6-1. Golf is undefeated at 14-0, and congratulations to Megan Ruffing, who won the BCIAA girls golf title this year. Boys soccer is 10-5-1. Girls soccer 13-4. Girls tennis 7-6. Girls volleyball 10-3. Boys water polo 12-5, and girls water polo 11-4. Moving on to facilities. Mr. Greeni's not here. Anything, Mr. Earl or Mr. Martin? Sorry, I'm on a report. Okay. Mr. Ehrlich, Finance.
Yes, we had a lengthy Finance Committee meeting this afternoon, discussed a number of topics. First of all, we discussed food services. We had an update on the Act 55, which is how some revisions to how school districts are able to handle students who have delinquent accounts with the district. We also received an update on student balances, as we talked about before. Unpaid balances continue to creep upwards with the district, and of course, as I've said before, we have kind of 2 categories. We have people who are in the free and reduced lunch and are economically in a situation where paying is a challenge and understandable. And then unfortunately, we have parents who won't pay, and that's what we're trying to deal with because the taxpayers ultimately are the ones that foot the bill for those. We received an update on the financial results for this past year. The food services was able to cut expenses. Revenues were pretty flat, but we're able to show a profit in food services. We continue to struggle to get more students eating school lunches as opposed to packing, and our consultant continues to work on that, but things are better than they used to be. We also had a conference call with Scott Kramer from RBC and Mike Vinn from Financial Solutions, who handle some of our debt work. This was really a pre-planning call for the study that we're currently doing, the feasibility study, that if, depending on what the board would decide to do in terms of expenses that might be necessary for facilities and those types of things, we want to do some pre-planning as to what financial avenues are available. Obviously, rates are extremely beneficial to the district right now. We're not ready to make a decision right now, but we wanted to sort of start laying the groundwork for what we might do in the future. We also received from Ms. Schlossman an update on the audit process that is currently undergoing. That is wrapping up, and we expect the draft relatively soon. Believe it or not, we also talked about the 2020-2021 budget year is upon us. So we looked at the Act 1 index, started looking at the budget timeline, and looking at some different options from a budgeting standpoint, very preliminarily, but already working on those. We also talked about our current banking relationships right now and some options there with on who's going to handle those things going forward or how we're going to do that. And then we received an update on staffing in the finance area. As you may remember, we've been very short-staffed in the finance area, but we have some recent hires. Some people have started. Another person is due to start next week, so we're finally getting where we need to be from the finance department staffing. And our next meeting is Monday, November 4th.
Okay.
That's our report.
Thank you very much. Human Resources, Mr. Hart.
Our next meeting is tomorrow at noon in Dr. Fadley's office.
Okay, thank you. Legislative update, Mr. Martin.
Not much is going to be happening for the rest of this year, but some of the key items that the governor would like to see addressed starts with property tax reform, as well as school safety, and also charter schools. So those are topics for the impact education are going to be items that are going to be hot next year. The governor would like property tax relief, but there's no solution to that yet. So it's going to be interesting. One thing that was mentioned that you were talking about the situation at the Watauga Education Schools. The Pennsylvania Government Committee has now looked at that and realizes there's going to be a shortage of various labor intensives in Pennsylvania. And there's going to be some programs coming out to help get students more interested in these type of programs in the future. That's also coming up. That's it.
Thank you. Public Relations, Ms. Troutman.
Good evening. Just want to share some additional Wilson good news in addition to what happened at the beginning of the meeting with our National Merit commended students. We also want to congratulate Wilson senior Ashley Filer. She was also one of the young women recognized tonight. Ashley was the Wilson candidate for the Berks Outstanding Young Women competition, and she won second runner-up and received a $1,500 scholarship. I was able to be at the event, and she did a phenomenal job representing our school district. So congratulations to Ashley yet again. As far as public relations goes, on your at your seats, I have a copy of the Commerce Quarterly, which I had mentioned at the last meeting. This is the magazine that features our students on the cover, as well as a great article on the inside of the magazine where one of our STEM community mentors was interviewed, as well as Joe Melangrana, who's one of our STEM teachers, ninth grade STEM teachers. So wanted you to have an actual copy of that. Another item under PR, in cooperation with the BCIU, we recently participated in a special radio segment with WHYY-FM out of Philadelphia, where Mr. Durr, who's the Whitfield Discovery teacher, was interviewed about using our Google Expedition kits, funded by the foundation, to enhance the learning experience for our students. Mr. Durr hosted the team from WHYY during a lesson about tornadoes, which was very fun to watch. So we are supposed to get the broadcast. WHYY is doing an extensive program. As soon as we get it, we'll be able to share it with the community. But it was a great day to feature some of the unique technology that we have for our students. Some other items of interest. This past week, we welcomed 15 students and 2 administrators from the I can't. I think you need to say it. Dr. Faley, you can practice it. Yes. I even practiced it too, Mr. Wolf. And now I'm in front of everyone and I can't do it. But anyway, we did host them last week, which was great. We started with a visit and breakfast with and a very formal welcome in the high school library with our admin team as well as the host families. We had a number of host families from the community host the students who were here with us last week. So during their time here, the students toured our schools. They went to Philadelphia and Lancaster, and they also visited Camp Swatara in the pouring down rain, which was a lot of fun. Again, this is another great opportunity to create cross-cultural understanding. Just as Dr. Kennedy had said, we have amazing opportunities for our students here to really get a great cross-cultural experiences, which is awesome. And then finally, the Wilson Theater Company is presenting its first main stage production of the year. You can get your tickets to Clue on Stage. This play is based on the cult classic film and board game. It's a comedy that keeps you guessing and laughing to the very end. The show is going to be performed at 7:30 p.m. on October 24th, 25th, and 26th in the auditorium. And you can purchase tickets on the newly designed theater company website, which looks fantastic. And the board will be getting a full update from the theater company at the first board meeting in November about all of the great things they have planned for the school year. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Case, you want to jump back to the Ed Foundation?
Order here, but
That's
that's how
okay.
it used to be. It's such a great following, all the positive stuff towards the end. And
You're just trying to steal the positive stuff, I get it.
so with regard to the Wilson Ed Foundation, we met as a group on September 20th, and it was a great meeting. We started off with, as Mrs. Troutman mentioned, the Google Expedition kits that the WEF funded early on. Chris McCaffrey, Steve Rhodes, and Matt Durr presented, and the board has gotten a presentation of virtual reality and augmented reality and the kits that they use, and they're phenomenal. So that was a demonstration, and then also to understand some of the challenges that they're having going forward, where, when you have a room full of students, and you're sharing the same device, it's quite challenging to try and keep everyone on task. So, possibly maybe coming back to the well, and we'll have those discussions on whether the Ed Foundation will help going forward. But Ed Foundation's a great group of folks and individuals that volunteer and help with resources to do those kinds of things in our district. As just about everyone knows in this room, the Casino Bash is November 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Berkshire Country Club. There's going to be lots of food and spirits and live music and casino games and so much more. And the WEF is proud to present that evening the 2019 Legacy Award to John Doc Moyer. So it's going to be a great evening. There's limited seating, so reserve your tickets now. You can go online and get tickets if you'd like, or call Molly Mack at the, I believe she's at extension 5999 if you want to call her and buy tickets as well. And anyway, it's a great organization, WEF. If you haven't learned anything about it, please go online and take a look. It's a great organization impacting Wilson in a very positive way, and you can learn more about the many scholarship, volunteer opportunities, or even the Earned Income Tax Credit Program, which is basically if you have a company and you want to participate in this tax program, which you may already be doing, just not to the WEF, but you can get a 90% tax credit back it's almost like a no-brainer. So if you're sitting on some money towards the end of the year, register and get involved in the program and spread the word about it. And you're helping the WEF and Wilson School District. So anyway, our next meeting is November 23rd at 7:30 a.m. in this room. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. Technology, Mrs. Cocker.
Had a technology committee meeting this afternoon. We have no agenda items tonight, but just a friendly reminder that if you have a child in grades 6 through 12, you may purchase Chromebook insurance for them. If the very rare situation comes up that something is accidentally damaged on their Chromebook, the first time, if you have the insurance, the first time it's covered. Second time, you have to kind of have to deal with the consequences. But without the insurance, it would probably be a little bit more of a headache. So $20, by the way, $20 insurance, and free and reduced lunch, I believe, is $10. So just putting that out there. Public service announcement.
Great.
That's all.
Thank you. For student outreach tonight, we have a fill-in. Miss Talia Spillerman is here, filling in for Carolyn. Carolyn's got I believe, a water polo game tonight, correct? So
Senior night,
Okay.
so best of
Well,
luck
I'm
to
glad
her.
She didn't miss that. And Talia is also a member of our girls cross-country team as well that's having an outstanding season. So it's all yours.
Yeah, so I'm Talia Spillerman. I'm filling in for Carolyn. During the past 2 weeks, juniors and seniors volunteered their time to be counselors for the 6th grade camp at Camp Sotara at Southern and West. They had a great time. Last Thursday, we had our first homecoming carnival at the high school, and there were lots of bounce houses and even a mechanical bull. Also, clubs set up activities for the student body to participate in, such as an escape room, karaoke, and there were also other games there too. The carnival promoted lots of school spirit and got everyone excited for the homecoming game on Friday. At the game, many seniors were recognized for being on the homecoming court for their involvement. And Bianca LaPuma and Eric Velasquez were crowned king and queen. While the game was going on in the field, the water polo team was dominating in the pool during the Beast of the East tournament, the largest water polo tournament on the East Coast. I was there. There was a lot of teams, like some from Ohio. It was really cool. The boys and girls both had one loss, but overall played great. In the next 2 weeks, Student Gov is organizing a Pink Out football game on October 11th, where the proceeds will be donated to breast cancer awareness foundations. Also this week, Student Gov is selling tickets for our first fall formal dance, which is a semi-formal dance. We just like the alliteration of fall formal. At the planetarium on November 16th. It should be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. Maravich, anything else?
No report.
Okay. And we have no public participation, so any other business from the board? Looking for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hart? Sorry, Mr. Hop. We're adjourned.